to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, do we have the Roswell swim team here tonight? Come forward, Roswell swim team, for recognition. Tell us about this. Come on, everybody.
Okay.
Come on,
All right.
swim team.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Morgan Rogers with the Roswell Recreation and Parks Department. We're here tonight to celebrate another outstanding year for the Roswell adult swim team. As the team makes its way to the podium for the much anticipated Warm and Fuzzy, I want to make sure that you know the story of how we got here. In 1949, Fulton County built Roswell's first swimming pool at Waller Park. Just for clarification, I said Fulton County built Roswell's first pool in 1949. Somewhere in the early 60s, the pool had problems, foundation problems, and had to be filled in. In 1969, the city of Roswell purchased 63 acres on the outskirts of Roswell that became the Roswell Park. In 1974, the citizens of Roswell passed a $385,000 bond referendum to build a swimming pool and a bathhouse. In May of 1975, 40 years ago this May, our beloved swimming pool was open. It has served the community well, and we continue to be proud of it. Standing on the shoulders of those folks many years ago that understand what quality of life meant and made the necessary investments, I would like to congratulate the Roswell Adult Rapid Swim Team for winning the Atlanta Adult Swim League Championship in 2004. We have with us tonight Matt Murphy, head of the Adult Swim League for the Atlanta Swim Association. He's going to be making a special presentation on behalf of the Swim League. Matt?
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, this is the third opportunity I've had to come in front of this council and present a trophy to this team. It's an extreme achievement that this team has made, and there's two main reasons, I think. And I think it's because of the amazing Parks and Rec department that y'all have created here in the city of Roswell, and the leadership of Russ Thomas and everything that he does for the swimming and diving team. Both on the youth level, on the adult level, and now he's getting involved in the high school level with Roswell High School. So those two things is the tremendous reason why this is a three-peat for the Roswell adult team. And someone said something about 4, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen next year. But we'll see. Hopefully I'm back here again. But on behalf of the Atlanta Swim Association, I'd like to present the Roswell adult team with the 2014 championship trophy.
So what is your season for training? You train what?
We start in late April, and it's a little cold, and then we go all the way through late August or September, as long as we can fit in the pool. It would be nice to be able to practice year-round, but we'd need an indoor facility.
So how many of our adults were swam competitively before they reached this?
We have a good mix. We have some folks like myself. I never swam competitively, so we've got probably about half the team like myself, and then we've got folks who are world ranked currently in Masters as well. And we've had former Olympians swim with us. I don't know if you know Alan Sergio. He swam with us a couple of years. He swam for Haiti. Yep. So, and then we've got a couple Masters folks with world records as well that have swam with us.
Well,
So
I'm more impressed with the folks who did not swim competitively.
Well, thank you. I'll take that personally.
Late in their career. But I haven't seen a healthier group of citizens come before us in a long time. Congratulations, and we look forward to more great things. Any of my council members wish to add anything?
I'd like to, we also have a presentation for the mayor and council, if you'd give me a few more minutes here.
Sure, certainly.
All right. The trophy's nice, but what we really get that we appreciate are towels. Championship towels.
Well, I was hoping somebody would come in their Speedo tonight. I've had to show up here in my life with, my bicycle outfit. That's right. Oh, thank you so much. That's great. Awesome.
Yeah, I've got one more. I'd also like to challenge the mayor and council to join us this year. I know we have at least we have one council member, Rich DiPolito, who shall go unnamed, that I know swims for recreation. So come join us. It's fun. It's really if you can do freestyle.
As long as the mayor doesn't show up in a Speedo, I'm good.
I can make no promises.
Well, if you will make it when the weather gets warm, like June, July.
You can come to one practice if you like. We'll take that.
June, well, let's wait till it gets warm, and then we can try to turn them out for practice. And
It's a
get
deal.
Special invitation. But I think it would be wonderful for this council to all show up and at least see if we can make one lap.
Excellent.
Councilman Orland.
I just want to say you've really inspired us. So, keep it in the back of your mind. We're going to work on that indoor pool for you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I understand that Councilman Orleans wants a photo op, and if he gets a photo op, the rest of the council does. Come on, let's get our picture taken.
Where do you want to? Up here?
So you can borrow a towel? That way? Okay. Trophy.
I understand that our K-9 is chasing criminals, so he will not be here tonight, which brings us to our back to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Councilmember DiPolito. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Diamond. Does anyone in the audience have any questions regarding the consent agenda? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. Yes.
I'm abstaining since I was not here.
All right, abstaining
Meeting
from that. Councilmember Wynn is abstaining. It's good to have her back. Which brings us to Recreation and Parks Department Liaison, Councilmember Betty Price.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have, I believe, just one item this evening under Recreation and Parks, and is that Kay? And the item is, I'm just a little confused because it's not Morgan. Approval to accept the Community Cultural and Arts Assessment Plan. Imagine Roswell Arts and Culture 2030, and Kay Love will present this.
Thank you, Councilmember Price. And normally you would see the Department Director, Morgan Rogers, but since he was not the Department Director for the whole time, and I've been involved with it, I felt like it was appropriate. He's welcome to come and stand with me for moral support and to answer any questions that I might not be able to. As you know, the city entered into a contract with the Cultural Planning Group in November of 2013 for development of the Community Cultural and Arts Assessment Plan. The plan's a community plan centered around advancing Roswell's cultural development. Along the way in the process, we amended the contract to incorporate some recommendations regarding the historic homes. That happened in the August 2014 timeframe. So over the past year or so, there have been in excess of 1,500 folks involved in group discussions, stakeholder meetings, a citizen survey, moving forward to committee meetings, public meetings, work sessions with mayor and council and the Roswell Arts Commission. Through it all, there's been a group to guide the development of this plan through the process. And I'm not going to read their names, but I do want to put them up here on the overhead. And some of them are probably here tonight. Whoops. Well, there we go. Thank you. Thank you. The steering committee was chaired by Lonnie Mims, and you can see the other members that helped us through the process. So first and foremost, a big thank you goes to that group. And as you can see, Councilmember Eigelhart was a part of that steering committee, along with staff member Morgan Timmis as well. And you have this information, but I'm going to put it up for the audience. So the plan that's before you tonight has 8 different strategies, goals with accompanying strategies that are a part of the plan. The first one is to diversify the range of arts and cultural programming offered in Roswell. The second one is to improve information and communications about arts and cultural offerings. The third, develop a public art program. The fourth, develop more diverse and sustainable funding for arts and culture. The fifth, support the development of Roswell's for-profit creative sector. Sixth, support K-12 arts education. Seventh, develop arts and cultural facilities in Roswell. Number 8, reconfigure the structure and management of historic and cultural programs to improve their effectiveness. All the plan initiatives will not be led by the City of Roswell, the government, but will be led in partnership with a number of community stakeholder groups and partners that will be identified and are identified in the implementation plan to help take the lead on some of these initiatives. At the committee meeting on February the 10th, what came forward was that the Roswell Arts Commission would be the lead in implementing the cultural plan. There were also some priority initiatives identified at the committee meeting. As you know, the plan with the 8 goals and strategies has quite a number of tasks and initiatives that can be accomplished or started at the direction of mayor and council related to the ones that the city will be responsible for. Out of the committee meeting came 4 particular initiatives that the staff will be working on should you approve for us to move forward in such a way. These are in no particular order and will be worked on in tandem, depending on how you direct us to proceed. The first one is to develop a draft Percent for Art program ordinance. And these items that are these initiatives or priorities from a staff perspective will be brought back to the mayor and council through our committee system as we normally bring such policy decisions. The next one is to develop a scope of work for the development of a public art master plan. The next one is to create an artist inventory with assistance from the Roswell Arts Commission. The commission has already begun looking at this and has developed a process by which we might achieve an artist inventory. The next one is to develop a process to engage artists as part of the design team for specified city projects. The plan calls for both public and private projects to have a mechanism in them for public art. Right now, currently, we don't have staff capabilities to incorporate public art into projects, so the goal would be to have as a part of a design team a person with this expertise to help guide us through the design of city projects as specified by the mayor and council. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Does the council have any questions? Do we have a motion?
Yes, move to accept the City of Roswell Cultural Master Plan.
Motion by Councilmember Price to accept the plan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Orleans. Does anyone in the audience wish to comment? This is not a time to promote it. Sometimes you're best to not talk past the sale. Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you. Ms. Love, the implementation plan requires some funding, and I know we're accepting the plan, and there are some goals that you've outlined. Is there the intention of adding funding to this year's budget to support some of the initiatives in this implementation plan?
Yes, sir. That information will be brought to you as you deliberate the budget as a council. So we will be bringing forward at least year one items for your consideration. The priority initiatives that staff will be working on don't require any funding for us to get started on them, but should those policies be implemented, they will have budgetary implications, and you'll be seeing that through the budget process.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Eichelhardt.
Thank you. I do want to take just a second, and even though Ms. Love did mention people, because there are three in the room, I do want to recognize them, and unfortunately there's not a huge crowd here to stand up and give you a great applause, but Maggie Davis, Lonnie Mims, and Rochelle Muka were instrumental in getting this plan.
Stand up, let's give you applause. You've done a great job. Stand up, stand up, stand up. You have to have a little showmanship in this business.
But this was truly a community plan, and it took a lot of work, and it's funny to think that, you know, I remember we started more than a year ago, as it turned out. I guess that's the way plans often go. But this is actually, you know, the start of a lot of work. So even though a lot of work was done, this is where it really hits the road now. And it will take both work and funding, and as Councilmember DiPolito just said, that's what we'll be talking to you, and I'm sure the folks in the room here and others will be talking over the next couple months as we work towards that. But there also will be funding from outside sources and other work as well over time, and so again, this is going to be a huge plan, and I think all of us, those of us involved directly in the arts activities in the metro area, you know, are very thankful to all the support that's been given from the council and the community, so this is going to be a great plan.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Yes, Councilmember Price.
Yeah, just want to say that I think as many people as had input into this are as many creative ideas that come forth from our residents, and there's really no end to the creativity in Roswell. We're unique. We've always been unique, and we will continue to be unique and lead in the area that delights the eye, the ear, the spirit, and the mind. So I'm just very excited about the possibilities that will come in the future. Thanks to all.
Councilmember Diamond.
Yes, I'd like to piggyback on that and thank everyone as well. This has been a huge leap for arts in our community, and I was really struck by the benchmark cities. On page 39, there's a list of 6 cities, Roswell included, and what their general fund budget is compared to their population, and virtually all of them, and these aren't cities that are vastly cost of living wise more expensive than we are, perhaps Scottsdale, maybe some, but each of them spends $1,000 to $1,200 per capita on their citizens, and we spend about $770, so $717 by my calculation. So, you know, while we're doing a lot of great things with the money we have, I think we need to recognize what a value it is to live in Roswell with a quality of services, and it certainly gives us room to work harder on the arts. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. Kay, I did have two questions. We're talking about the fire station and making that a pilot project. When do we anticipate seeing the pilot project part of this come back to committee or work session?
It will be to you in a couple of months. So the RFQ for design is on the streets and will be coming to committee.
Well, we had the first discussion was the amount and how it would be going forward and how it would be approved, and that process hasn't been approved.
Correct.
So when does that come to council?
I don't know when that will be to you. I would suspect, based on what I know right now, that the fire station will be coming to you before the policy overall would be coming to you.
Well,
Because we will have to get some direction on how you want to proceed. This fourth initiative related to developing that process to engage artists as part of that, that is what would happen from a staff perspective that we see as part of the design team for the fire station. Related to funding, that budget was set well in advance of this. So staff's desire would be that we got money appropriated for that. I know there's some different schools of thoughts related to taking money from the existing budget to further the public art.
I'm trying to get a timeline here.
Couple of months will be to you. Within the next couple, I don't know if we'll make it for March since
Well,
this is.
we needed a process. We needed to, there's a discussion of how much money, where it comes from.
Correct.
A discussion of how the proposal is defined, the public art portion, and then finally how it's approved.
Our goal is to have that to you by April. I don't want to commit for March because the meeting is
Okay.
March 10th.
So we're looking for April to try to have something for
Yes,
council's
sir.
consideration.
You will have something in April. If we can get it sooner, we will. But I don't know that we can achieve that.
And I know also, one of our goals this year is the reorganization of the cultural arts and historic affairs.
Yes, sir.
When do we think that's going to be coming
You will be
forward?
seeing that in a budget work session. So we will incorporate that with personnel. You will see that in the March timeframe.
All right, just trying to get my time frame.
And
All
I'm
right.
sure that will bleed over into April.
I know there'll be a lively discussion, but I'm trying to I know those are two preliminary items that need to be looked at before we move ahead. Moving right along, we're to the Transportation Department Liaison, Councilmember Nancy Diamond.
Thank you, sir. This item is approval to amend the personal transportation vehicle ordinance to change the effective date, and this would be the first reading, and Mr. Eisenbrack is here to explain.
Thank you, Councilmember Diamond, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, and Councilmember Nguyen. It's great to see you back.
It's good to be back. Thank you.
This is a very simple item. I can assure you the staff is working hard to implement your guidance of the golf carts. However, we need a little bit more time, and so we're asking that this effective date be moved from March 1st to July 1st.
If you would read the ordinance, Mr. Davidson.
Thank you. This is an ordinance to amend the ordinance, to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Roswell, Chapter 22, to amend existing Section 22.7.2 and 22.7.6 to allow operation of personal transportation vehicles, motorized carts, as defined by OCGA 40-1-1, 43.1, upon the public roads of the City of Roswell having a speed limit of 25 miles an hour or less, and to allow the use of personal transportation vehicles, motorized carts, as defined by OCGA 40-1-1, upon designated multi-use paths, as adopted on December 8, 2014, to change the effective date from March 1st, 2015 to July 1st, 2015. If approved, this will be the first reading.
Does the council have any questions? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve first reading.
Move to approve the first reading to move the effective date to July 1st by Councilmember Diamond. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Nguyen. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? Councilmember Price.
We've had a lot of discussion about the particulars of this, so is that going to come back to committee, or how are we going to move forward with the specifics?
there will be some other discussions at committee as we begin to field this. But the urgency was because the effective date was March 1st. We needed to get this on tonight, and then we're going to have a special called meeting on Wednesday for the 2nd in order to make this effective. Otherwise, we go live March 1st. So this will give us a little bit of time to work through some of the details.
Right, so you'll be coming back to the next committee meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Great, thank you.
Well, the next committee meeting is when we're actually going to vote on this.
You know, I mean the next month? March?
Yes. There's multiple departments involved, and I can't speak for all of them, but yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. Now we're on to the Environmental Public Works Department Liaison, Councilmember Rich DiPolito.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is approval of a resolution to accept a 319H fiscal year 2014 grant in the amount of $361,045 from the Georgia Environmental Protection Division, and approval of budget amendment 50743200-02-23-15 in the amount of $180,523 to establish the grant project account. And this will be presented by Dan Scalzi, our Director of Environmental and Public Works.
Good evening. Thank you, Councilman. Very briefly, we're very excited about this project. This will be a project that will allow us to do a pilot project on green infrastructure in the Groveway area as part of the grant, and also help us establish some administrative procedures for administering a revolving loan specifically to help with funding those types of projects in the district and when they're paid for, hopefully in other areas of the city. This is an area that we're going to be talking more about in the future, and I'm very excited that the city's been awarded this grant by EPA and EPD. The funding is available in the Stormwater Fund, and once we authorize this project, we would still have a significant reserve balance above our reserve minimum. It will help preserve Hogwaller Creek water quality, as well as being a great demonstration project that we're looking forward to working with RDOT and ComDev, as well as the developer on.
Now, the green infrastructure you talked about, is it correct that a big part of that would be pervious sidewalks and streets?
Yes, sir. The two principal constraints on the project are that our pilot project involve pervious pavers and that it be in the Groveway area. And within that, we have some flexibility to find the optimum location and application for that we're working with Steve with.
Does the council have any questions? Councilmember Price.
This does not include any rain gardens, does it?
There's no specific mention of rain gardens that I recall from the grant application. It specifically cites the porous pavers. I'd have to double check to be sure, but I believe it's porous pavers in the right-of-way that we've targeted.
Okay, I just hope we don't move forward with any rain gardens until we assure ourselves that the engineering of those is sound, because it seems like we've got some that are having a little problem draining.
Agree completely, and one of the points about the grant program is it is a relatively slow-moving program. We have the ability now to go into preliminary and detailed design of exactly what improvements will be completed as part of the pilot project. So I can assure you we won't include any rain gardens if that's a concern.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a pretty exciting project because it incorporates transportation and public work, so it's great to see both departments teaming up together and putting forward a green infrastructure project. So I think that's pretty exciting. One thing I did want to point out, I believe there is a typo on the actual ordinance. It lists $182,523, and I believe the dollar amount's $180,523.
You're correct. We will revise the resolution to make that correction.
Amended before we sign that, but.
I've already marked it on.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. We'll now turn to Councilman
Mr.
Jerry
Mayor.
Orland's
Mr. Mayor.
liaison.
I'm not sure there was a motion made on that,
There was no motion?
but I'm happy to make a motion to
Do
approve.
we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Motion by Councilmember DiPolito, approval, second by Councilmember Diamond. All in favor, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. Now we'll turn to liaison to the Public Safety Department, Councilmember Jerry Orlands.
And tonight we have the first reading of an amendment to Chapter 3 of the Alcoholic Beverages Ordinance of the City Code regarding outside consumption of alcoholic beverages in specific areas. Chief Grant, you want to give us a quick outline of this?
Sure. Thank you. Several years ago, the state of Georgia allowed local jurisdictions some control over certain control over the alcohol laws. And in one particular area was allowing restaurants to sell an alcoholic beverage inside a restaurant and then allowing a person to leave. And that's what this essentially does within a district, which will be known as the Canton Street District, within certain boundaries.
And those boundaries are up on the screen showing the Canton Street District.
Here's the question. Are we creating a district by ordinance, or are we creating the ability to create districts by resolution? I'd rather see the ability to create districts by resolution and then create say we can create districts and then by resolution define those districts. So what are we doing with this?
Well, I think the ordinance is creating the option of doing this, and then within the ordinance, we can add districts at different points in time.
And would
And
that
the
be
first
by-
district is Canton Street District.
Would the
It does
defining
both.
this district be by resolution?
It does both. It allows the creation of the Canton Street District, and in the future, it allows by resolution to create other districts.
Can we change the boundaries of the Canton Street District by resolution? My preference would be to make the boundaries by resolution, whether it's the Canton Street or additional ones. So we, if I'd ask for that one change, that we don't create a district, we pass by resolution the Canton Street District and change it so it can be changed by resolution.
Right, I agree with you, and I thought that's the way it was set, but it will be set that way for the second reading.
Councilmember Diamond.
Thank you. That answers my first question. My second one is, I thought when we had discussed this, that there's a restaurant just on the other side of the northwest side of Woodstock and Canton intersection that I thought we were including in that district.
What was that location
Yeah,
again?
It's called Lazarus, but it's the only restaurant I think that's right across the street there, and I think we had talked about that.
If we did, I just missed that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that
We gotta include Jimmy's if we include Lazarus.
I'm fine with that too, but I guess my point being that corner we need to make sure we have the restaurants in that corner. And also, on the, section C, 3.7.15 C, it says, it shall be unlawful for any person purchasing alcoholic beverages for consumption on the premises to leave the premises without paying for such alcoholic beverages. Do we need that? Or why do we need that?
That's in the code currently.
I know, but why do we need it before? It just doesn't make, do we care if isn't that kind of between them and the business?
When I drafted it, I just tried to make as minimal
Right.
changes as possible. You
Okay.
feel free to take it out.
I
But
mean-
it does make it illegal to not pay for your drink, so.
It does what now? Okay.
Specifically,
But we call the police when people run out on their bill all the time, so. Not all the time, it happens, but,
and you
okay.
can take it out,
I'm sorry,
And there
Mr.
was-
Davidson, what are you talking about, taking out or not taking out?
Section C.
Yeah, that first section C,
Jerry buys a drink, what does that mean?
yeah.
Section C.
And then, on the second page, on number 2, I don't understand, I get the one person per drink, but it talks about buying 2, but only taking one, or I'm not real clear.
I believe the intention there is if you're out on the street, you can only have one drink, but it's not uncommon for one person to walk into a restaurant, like for like an Alive After 5, and the other party of that couple would still be outside, and it would allow a person to go into a restaurant, buy 2 drinks, walk back outside, and give that drink to another.
So if the bar's crowded, you can pick up.
Right.
Right, but it says no person shall remove at one time more than one beverage per person. Okay, I get where you're going, I'm just,
The other person would have to step inside to get the drink.
okay. I think the sentence is just kind of, maybe I'm just reading it wrong, but it just seems.
No, I read it the same way, and I thought it was very strange. I think we need to clean that up for the second reading, because it really doesn't make sense. You're talking about one drink, you're talking about 2 drinks, and I would think that the person would have to come inside the restaurant to carry out the second drink anyway.
Well, and
So
even
I
if they don't, I think it's just a sentence structure issue. I think it's resolvable.
But yeah, I think Mr. Davison can clean that up for the second reading.
We'll clean it up. We'll sober it up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Councilmember Wynn's point, I don't see why they can only dispense 2 drinks to one person. What we're really concerned about is it being taken out. So if somebody wanted to buy 4 drinks for everybody they were with, then I don't know why we wouldn't allow that, as long as they're just taking 1 per person out of the establishment. So I'd take out the first portion of that, because I don't know that dispensing is relevant.
Councilmember Wynn.
To follow up on that, seriously, I can carry 4 drinks. That's, you know, that's my day job. Y'all just don't know that yet. But I think that should be changed, because if I have 3 friends outside and I carry the drinks out and I hand them to those, then I can be actually breaking this law. And so I think we need to clean that up. And I'm sorry that I have been absent as long as I have, but I know when we talked about this, we were talking about doing this citywide for all of the restaurants in the city. So I'm assuming that we're just using this Canton Street area as a pilot project to see how it works before we go citywide. And is that assumption correct?
Well, we did. No, the idea was not to have a citywide district, but to have restaurant districts, so that you couldn't walk out of the restaurant on Canton Street and jump on your motorcycle and drive to TJ's and still be within the district.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just saying, we're just starting with the Canton Street, and then we'll use that as a pilot and move
Yeah,
forward on
basically, we
other.
wanted to start with Canton Street as a pilot area. And then the discussion in our work sessions was, if there's another area that is a walkable area that would make sense for this, and come in, and that's what we're talking about by resolution, amend and create another district. You know, maybe there's a particular shopping center or area that has 4, 5, 6 restaurants. But what we didn't want to do was, you know, where there's a one bar, one all by itself, of necessarily having a district there. So we created it to have districts available that we can create in the future.
Okay, I'm going to throw a little something out. Maybe it won't be for this one, but for future, is that where I live, I border Alpharetta and Johns Creek. So I can actually go to a bar in Johns Creek, order a drink, and then cross over and go into Roswell, which could become a district. So we're going to have to watch for that too. You know, if you buy it in another town, or if you buy it outside of the district, of that district, can you carry it into that district? So, and that's just something that I think we need to look at later down the line there.
Well, and that could just help our funding in our court system too.
And I agree with that one. So, you know, just in case, because there's a couple of bars that's in Alpharetta and Johns Creek that neighbors Roswell. So just when we start looking at other districts, I think we need to look at that also.
One step at a time.
A point
Any
of
further discussion? Any, Councilmember Price?
Thank you. I guess the idea is that there's going to be a certain type of glass or cup or what exactly is going to have us know that this was purchased in an approved location and not something that someone just, is bringing in from their car or distributing in some other fashion?
Right now, a person can tailgate, for example, on Canton Street if they wanted to. They could park their car and have alcohol in their car and go to their car and get a bottle of wine and fill up a glass or a beer and do the same thing. So this really wouldn't prohibit that from happening.
Well, yes, it would, actually, because it says you have to purchase it from a licensed premise.
You couldn't purchase it from an unlicensed premises.
Right,
but it doesn't mean you couldn't bring it from home. We currently don't have an open container law.
Yeah, there is no open container law, so regardless of where it came from, we cannot
The intention is we don't want people
penalize.
taking glasses, which create, and cans, which create a litter and safety problem greater than plastic and,
You can't, it prohibits drinking from cans, bottles, or glass.
So what are they drinking from?
So essentially a plastic cup.
And
or a
that's-
paper cup.
And that's
Or a
not
paper cup.
litter hazard? I mean, that's...
It is a litter hazard, but I would rather step on a paper cup than on a broken glass bottle.
Okay, so there's
And that-
nothing in this that prohibits you from pulling up your car, parking on the street, and passing out drinks to people?
If you were selling them, it would prohibit it, because that's state law.
Yeah, you wouldn't
No,
be able
I
to
think-
sell them. I'm not sure that if it would be illegal just to distribute them,
But you could pull up and have your own
just
sort
like you
of
can right
private,
now. Just like you can right now,
No,
yes.
can right now.
You cannot sell or serve under our ordinance without a license.
Okay, so you
could not
can't have a
pull up on-
tailgate party on Canton Street.
They would have to pour their own.
They could pour their own.
Well, when I say tailgate, that means that if I had if I drove my car down to Canton Street and I had a cooler in the back, I could stand in the parking lot and drink whatever alcoholic beverage I had in my car. Not sitting in my car, but standing beside my car, I could drink that, because we don't have an open container law in Roswell.
Councilmember Orleans.
I think on that point, my reading, Mr. Davidson, in item 4 on page 2, it says drinking from can, bottle, or glass is prohibited, basically in the Canton Street District. I guess I would read that as anyone who is carrying their own from home or from their car in our examples in the Canton Street District would need to have it in a, would not be able to use it from a bottle or a can or a glass, but would have to have it in a paper cup as well, in kind of answering Councilman Price's questions on that.
That's correct. All this ordinance does is allow the establishments on Canton Street to allow somebody to walk out with a drink. It doesn't do anything to somebody pulling up in a parking lot and pouring a drink into a cup and walking around with it.
Right, but this is also making it illegal for them to
Right,
walk around with a can or a bottle from their car.
Right, they will no
Whereas
longer be able to
currently,
walk
right
around with
now,
that.
they could do
That's
that.
correct.
So
Yes.
this would make the Canton Street District strictly paper or plastic cups.
That's correct.
Right, okay.
And may I ask another?
Absolutely.
So can we clarify number 5? How is that distinct from what we're doing now?
This allows the actual licensed establishment to allow people to walk outside with a purchased drink. It does not allow a shop to pour wine into a cup and let people walk out of their establishment with it.
You mean a non-licensed?
Correct.
Right now, a business, a restaurant on Canton Street that serves alcohol cannot allow a person that purchases the alcohol to leave their premise. They must stay inside they must stay indoors or be in the sidewalk cafe area if they have a permit for that. What this allows is for that restaurant to sell someone a drink and allow them to walk outside with that drink.
Okay, I guess I'm a little leery as to other sources of alcohol or persons having their own alcohol and I'm just looking to the problem, you know,
Right.
situation where we get into levels of excess.
Yeah, this ordinance doesn't change the way we handle that right now at all.
Okay,
It's-
so that's
it's
covered elsewhere and
But it's not covered.
It's not covered.
not covered at all. Well, then this would imply, though, that you cannot just get out of your car, pour a drink into a cup, and walk down Canton Street. That's how I read number 5.
Mr. Davidson.
No, this is for purchase. They must be purchased from one of those establishments. This ordinance does not address somebody walking down Canton Street that lives on Canton Street, walking out of their house with a plastic cup of alcohol.
Well, I mean, read it, though. It says alcoholic beverages consumed, well, pursuant to this provision,
Pursuant
must
to
be
this provision.
purchased.
Yeah, it's pursuant
So-
to this provision.
This provision is strictly walking out of a licensed establishment.
So carrying out of alcoholic beverages. Okay, so we can walk down the street and carry whatever we want if we brought it from our own car, as long as it's not in a bottle, glass, or can.
Correct.
And then I know we've got public nuisance ordinance that
Disorderly
was
conduct, right.
strengthened last year. So do you anticipate any difficulties with this? I mean, what will be our measures to keep everybody in line?
It will make it, right now we have violations which we're not in a position to enforce because of the number of violations. This will allow the policemen to do their job without upsetting a lot of people who are already doing things. As far as keeping a control on those things, I think two things do this. One is the limited hours. This does not go into the wee hours of the morning. Do we have time limits on these districts?
Only during the hours that they can typically sell alcohol.
So again, it's not 2 and 3 in the morning.
Right.
And if could we limit the hours of this if we felt that we had problems with late night?
Sure.
Could we not only make a district as far as area, but as to time? Does that include that possibility, Mr. Davidson?
You can limit the time if this council so desires.
Could you do that by resolution, or do we need to change the
We'd
ordinance?
have to change the ordinance for a second.
I would suggest we change the ordinance in the second reading to say on what hours you could do this, because we're really talking about, well, it's a festival time, and I think that helps. If you're worried about late night or too early, you can limit the not just the geographic area, but the time. We don't want folks at 8 o'clock in the morning pulling this off. Not a good, or at 1 o'clock at night.
Well, and, I mean, currently, we've got a Live at the 5 set up to go to 11 o'clock for both noise and street blockage.
We might limit
So
it to
we
those
could-
hours.
11 or 12, whatever.
So we might, Mr. Davidson, I'd suggest we consider that. But as far as how do we keep control over this, I think by controlling the hours and controlling and having a police presence, and we have done a good job up to this time, and I am confident with the good citizens of Roswell will continue to do a good job.
Yeah, we have an adequate police presence. I don't think it's overbearing in the area when we have a major event. We do have problems now, as not just on Canton Street, but any place alcohol is sold. At time to time, we do have issues from people drinking too much. That does happen, and there are laws against that, so passing more laws isn't going to prevent that.
Well, and Chief, you're saying you have presence during like a Live After 5 and certain events. This will be ongoing every night, so I mean, we won't have that kind of presence. We'll have a normal presence that we would any night in the city, so how does that come into play?
Well, it really will depend on the number of people that are in the area. If we have a normal Friday or Saturday night, not like a typical Live After 5 crowd, I think that our normal police presence in the area will be adequate. If we have more crowds down there than what we have now, then we'll need to increase our presence down there.
Councilmember Diamond.
My understanding is this is not a behavior issue. This is a leveling of the playing field. I mean, right now, we allow people to walk down the street with a glass of wine and stand outside a restaurant with their friends, but we don't allow them to buy it from the restaurant and stand outside with their friends. And that's just, we're penalizing the businesses for behavior that we permit. If people are unruly, we have a law for that. If people are out of control or not behaving themselves or driving or underage, we have laws for all that. This is not what that's meant to address. It's just to remove the part that's penalizing businesses because of the law. It's been that way because our rule in the city was more lax than what the state rule was. But now the state law has changed, so we're matching our ordinance to the state law, which is everybody gets treated the same. You can stand on the curb with that drink, whether you bought it in the restaurant or you brought it yourself. That is my understanding. Am I missing something?
I think you have it
Thank you.
concisely. Councilmember Price.
My other concern is during our Live After 5, we sort of have two major areas that are connected by a trolley. So, and it looks like, according to number 10, that if they were to hop on the trolley and go to the other end of town by the square, that they could not walk into the park carrying this drink.
Mr. Davidson.
If they went to the square,
Yes.
they couldn't take it out of this district right here.
So they cannot get on the trolley and
No.
leave Canton Street District with their drink.
That's correct.
Okay, is that something we do or don't want to encourage, discourage?
I look at this as a pilot program. If the council wants to join the two districts together, would they have to be contiguous in territory?
Yeah, I know.
Does the district have to be contiguous, or can you have a district which has two separated geographic areas?
Well, if you want them to be able to go from district to district walking, you would have to have contiguous districts. Then you'd have a space that they were outside of, that they couldn't carry.
Or drive, for that matter. They'd be
You're not supposed to drive anyway.
Well, I mean, ride.
Not supposed to ride with an open container.
No, ride in the trolley. I just don't want to see the trolley driver, having to enforce, you can't get on my trolley with a drink or something. I mean, maybe they're doing that now, I don't know.
Let's take it one step at a time. We're relaxing what we currently have, and let's see how it goes.
Well, again, I don't want to see us, focus so much on Canton Street that part of our current festival would be also compromised, or there are several establishments at the other end during that festival, and I would guess that they would like to be included if they knew about this.
By resolution, the council can easily make the square another district. Or if the council wishes to, they can make a larger district and connect the two.
I would like to amend this to include anything connected by either trolley or pedicab during certain festivals, which would include Live After 5.
I think you'd need to actually identify the areas to say include by, and if you got in the trolley, you could stop anywhere. I mean, the trolley could go anywhere. It could go to anywhere.
I think they have defined stops, though, don't they?
They stop right here at City Hall, too.
Well, maybe we can work something out between now and the second reading.
We'll work on it. Any other further discussion? Councilmember Diamond.
I have a question. Can you ride in a vehicle on the street with a drink in your hand, an alcoholic drink?
It's my understanding the driver cannot have a drink.
Right, but other people in the car can? Did not know. Okay, that solves my second question then. Thank you.
Is that not right?
Any other questions?
I thought you could not have an open container in a car, period, in a vehicle.
Yeah, it's the open container law, because you just hand it to the.
But I think there might be a difference for like limos and trolleys and stuff.
We'll look into it. I know that many
we'll check
limos
into
I've
that.
been in seem to have alcohol in. So I didn't partake of it, but it seems like either they all breaking the law or they know something we don't. We'll look into it. Any further discussion? Do we have a motion?
I move for approval of the first reading with suggested comments from tonight.
If you could summarize those suggested comments.
We will for the second reading.
So it's open to additional items, and we'll work on that. And Kay, given the number of suggested comments, this needs to come to committee.
The one I do want to clarify is that a lot of comments kind of in jest and otherwise for the number 2 versus 1 versus 4. And I guess to simplify this thing and make it clear in everybody's mind, I would suggest, and you can give your feedback to David Davison between now and the second reading, but in that section 2, I would take out the 2 drinks or the 4 drinks that if you're getting drinks for other people, I would think the people would come inside at least to carry their drink out. So I think if we keep it simple of 1 drink leaving a premise per person, it's probably easier to everybody to understand. So I'll take that approach unless you guys really give different opinions to David Davison.
Kay, make sure this comes on a committee agenda before it comes back to council.
We'll bring it to the March 10th committee.
We have a motion and a second. Have we voted yet? No, we have a motion. We don't have a second. Motion by Councilman Orleans. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Wynn. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
We're to our city attorney.
Thank you. The first item I have is another alcohol ordinance amendment to change the size of stores that can sell alcohol in the Parkway Village. And with your permission, I'll have the second reading, Mayor.
Please read.
Thank you. This is an ordinance to amend Chapter 3, Alcoholic Beverages, Article 3.4, Location of Sales of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Roswell. Now therefore, the Mayor and Council of the City of Roswell, pursuant to their authority, do hereby adopt the following amendment. Chapter 3, Alcoholic Beverages, Article 3.4, Location of Sales, Section 3.4.1, Zoning Requirements, Existing Licenses of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Roswell, Georgia. It's hereby amended by deleting Section 3.4.1 in its entirety and substituting therefore a new Section 3.4.1 to read as follows. Text of which is incorporated herein by reference, and if approved, this will be the second reading.
Can you give us the gist of this amendment?
This basically lowers the size requirement for a malt beverage license package license holder in Parkway Village to 24,000 square feet from the original square foot requirement of 30,000.
So this is for a food store, supermarket, so they can be smaller.
Parkway Village, correct.
In the Parkway Village. Does the council have any questions? Councilmember Orleans.
Mr. Davidson, I thought the intent was strictly to change the 30 to 24,000. Is that true?
Yes, and to clean up an error when we did the UDC switch over to the code. But yes, basically.
My question is why we're removing the 200 feet of the intersection of King Road and Highway 92?
That was part of Councilman Dippolito's motion at the first reading.
Well, I guess I'm trying to understand the logic, because when Parkway Village was put in place, you know, we were trying to keep small places and selling a lot of that stuff through the Parkway Village, and the whole intent before it was even created was that King Road and Highway 92 was like the main corridor intersection that everyone felt would develop. And so that was allowed within the 200 feet there, but there was purpose for not allowing it throughout the whole Parkway Village. So I guess unless Mr. Dippolito can maybe explain the thought process, I think we should leave it in from what the original Parkway Village setup was.
If you could explain to me again why we said you couldn't have a 24,000 square foot grocery store within 200 feet?
It had nothing to do with this grocery store size. What it says is that you had to have the minimum size of 30,000 before anywhere in the Parkway Village, or be a CVS drugstore of 8,000 square feet. The intent was to avoid proliferation of alcoholic small shops and so forth, liquor stores and things along the Parkway Village, except in the commercial center, which was designated to be King Road and Highway 92. That's why the provision was in there to allow these things within 200 feet of the intersection, because the intent was that would be the commercial hub of the corridor, and the rest of the corridor would not be in that thought process, design, multiple liquor stores and so forth. So I guess I'm going back to the question of what Mr. DiPolito's thoughts were on taking it out.
I thought what it says was you could not have alcohol sales within 200 feet of that intersection. So you were saying what it currently reads is you can have smaller liquor stores within 200 feet of that intersection. Mr. Davidson?
No, it says you cannot. It says no packaged malt beverage license or packaged wine license shall be granted in the PV district, except in retail supermarkets having a gross building area of at least 30,000 square feet, or in drugstores having a gross building area of at least 8,000 square feet, or at outlets within 200 feet of the center line of Crossville King Woodstock intersection.
All right, so if you were within 200 feet of Crossville King, you could have a smaller liquor store under the existing ordinance. I'm trying to figure out what's the existing ordinance say.
Right, that's what I just read.
Is if
And it says-
under the existing ordinance, you could have a package store within 200 feet of the intersection of Crossville, Woodstock, and the Parkway Village, but nowhere else?
I read it to say you cannot have it within 200 feet of the center line of Crossville, King, and Woodstock.
Well, see, Councilmember Orleans was, what I understood you to say is you could. I'm trying to reconcile these.
I wasn't here when it was originally drafted, but.
Mr. Mayor? May I?
Yes, Rich.
Yeah, the way I read it is you cannot have a package store, and this exclusion was that you could have it within 200 feet of the intersection, which now is completely built out, and you couldn't literally have one there anyway. So it seemed extraneous. And then the second sentence talked about service stations were exempted as well, except for if they met all the other requirements. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, that's
kind
a
of-
part.
The language is confusing, and we just thought, let's just clean it up and just take it all out.
Yeah, that's the part I was thinking about, was the service stations and so forth in the Parkway Village in that area.
I believe in keeping things simple enough that I can understand them, and it's tough right now.
Well, and the original language said you couldn't have one at a package store except if they met all the requirements. Well, you can't have one anyway unless they meet all the requirements, so it really, the sentence had no effect. So we said, let's just take it out.
I support simplifying it. I mean, I don't see any reason to treat that intersection any different than the other intersections. I think they should all be under the same set of rules. Councilmember Orleans.
Simplify it.
Simplify it, all right. Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion to approve it as read?
Move to approve.
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve is read by Councilmember DiPolito.
I second it.
Second by Councilmember Wynn. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. First reading is passed. So the second reading is passed. Next item, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item I have is approval of an amendment to the Georgia Municipal Employees Benefit System, GMEB's Defined Benefit Retirement Plan, and approval for mayor and/or city administrator to sign the necessary documentation. This is the first reading. This is an amendment to our retirement plan, which will provide updates to the plan to comply with some federal regulations, PPA, Hart, WRERA, and other applicable federal laws, and to provide for a one-time plan amendment.
Gives us more flexibility.
Yes, sir. And
Do we have a motion to approve?
I need to read the ordinance.
Wait a
Please
minute.
read the ordinance.
Hold it.
Yeah, I have to.
Please read the ordinance, and we'll take questions.
Thank you. This is an ordinance to amend and restate the retirement plan for the employees of the city of Roswell, Georgia, in accordance with and subject to the terms and conditions set forth in the attached adoption agreement and any addendum to the adoption agreement, the Georgia Municipal Employees Benefits System Master Plan document, and the GMABS Trust Agreement. When accepted by the authorized officers of the city and GMEBS, the foregoing shall constitute a contract between the city and GMABS, all as authorized and provided for by state law, and if approved, this will be the first reading.
Councilmember Price, do you have a question?
Not having gone through this with a fine-tooth comb, though, I'm a little concerned because it states that it's a new plan. What does that mean? Because I thought we weren't doing any new defined benefits plans.
This is basically changing our old plan just to be in compliance with new federal regulations. It's going to be required by 2017. We're getting a jump on it. And then we're also doing a one-time plan amendment.
So does this only apply to the employees who are covered as a defined benefit? Or
Yes,
does it
ma'am.
change any new hires or
No,
people on
no,
defined?
this does not change the eligibility for any new hires.
Okay, what percent of our employees currently are on a defined benefit plan?
I don't have that. I can get that to you, but I'm not sure of the percent. It was changed in 2011, is my understanding.
And the urgency of this is because?
It has to do with a federal law, federal regulations.
And I guess my question really is, well, why did this not come to committee?
I think it came on an informational item. It was not discussed at committee. It has a very limited impact. We can either move forward or we can have a motion to defer.
Well, it's a first reading, so.
First reading.
I would move to approve the first reading, but for it to come to committee before the second reading.
We'll do it. We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Motion approved by Councilmember Price, second by Councilmember Orleans. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. You need to have a talk with me.
The only other item I have is a recommendation for closure to discuss personnel litigation and real estate.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Councilmember DePolito. Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Wynn. All in favor, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. We're adjourned. Do not forget your towel.